Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today as we go through the top 4 entry-level helmets for 2019. So we went through and we picked out our top 4 full-face entry-level helmets of 2019, and here they are before you. So they all come in at below $300 at the recommended retail price, making them entry-level. And let me introduce them to you. We have here the AGV K1, the HJC i70, the Shark Skwal 2, and then the Scorpion XO 510 Air. So these helmets are all in the size M, except for the K1, it's a size ML, just because of how their sizing system works. So the comparison is going to be pretty fair, especially when you look at them and compare them to each other like this. The plan is going to be that we're going to go through each helmet, talk briefly about it and what kind of makes it the best helmet in this category. Then we're going to do a couple of tests, and then we're going to talk a little bit more generally, compare them to each other like that. So that's the order we're going to go through. But there are some things we're not going to talk about, and I'm going to mention them now actually. So we have all these helmets, they're all polycarbonate. The shell's made out of polycarbonate. They all have been prepared for a communication system, so they have the cutouts and all that. And the liner is going to be removable, washable, and antibacterial for all the helmets, so we don't have to bring that up 4 times. Remember as well that if you go to our YouTube page, you can find individual and detailed reviews of each of these different helmets. And we're not going to be covering everything here, so if you want to get some more info, especially on stuff like ventilation, be sure to check out those individual reviews. So first up, let's look at the Scorpion XO 510 Air. So the Scorpion XO 510 Air, aka the Scorpion XO T510. This is going to be a touring/commuting helmet, and it's also going to be semi-passable as a sports helmet as well. Now this helmet is going to come in at the middle position on our list. That's because it's priced at $230 at the recommended retail price. So the best feature of this helmet is going to be the AirFit system. So let me just show you that. This big red button here on the inside. Pump that up a few times. And it inflates bladders underneath the cheek pads, and that's going to help you to get a more personalized fit. It's going to help you if you just struggle to get a good fit actually on the helmet, and it's going to seal you in better, which is a pretty cool feature. And if you want to see a more detailed breakdown of that system, be sure to check out our review of this helmet. So now, this helmet is also going to have a few other things. It's got a drop-down sun visor. You can adjust that here with a screw. The visor is anti-fog pinlock lens prepared. The shell is available in 3 different sizes. The ventilation is in more of an upright position, so it's not going to be as good in that sports tucked position. We also took the liner out of this helmet, and it was pretty good. You know, there was a little bit of loose glue floating around, which is a little bit disappointing, but overall there wasn't really any loose threads, and the finishing on the inside of the helmet was pretty good. So next up is the Shark Skwal 2. And the Skwal 2 is going to be a versatile helmet. It's going to be a sports touring helmet, but it's going to come in at the highest price of all the helmets we have on our list today, at $260 at the recommended retail price. Now, it does have a very special feature though. That's going to be this here, and at the back. So let me turn that on first actually. So there's LEDs. You see them here and here, and as well underneath the spoiler. So these are literally a cool feature that's going to help you stand out from the crowd, but it's also going to make you stand out in traffic and stand out against the background, and that's going to help other people on the road notice you, which is great for safety. It's literally a cool but safe feature. So now onto some other features. It has a 4 out of 5 star safety rating from Sharp, so it's going to be giving you some good protection. It's drop down sun visor, easy to use. Now the visor is going to be pinlock lens prepared, and the pinlock is in the box, which is cool. And it's going to come in 2 different shell sizes. But I did take the liner out, looked underneath everything, and there were some loose threads, loose glue, and the quality of the glue that they've used was quite bad. It was not strong glue at all. So this just shows that they've kind of cut corners in places where they can. So it's not going to really impact your safety or your comfort, but it's just not a high standard of quality, and that's a little bit disappointing. It is going to be a safe helmet though. It's still deserving of its place on this list. So now I've come to what is probably the most entry-level helmet on our list today, the AGV K1. And that's because this helmet is going to come in at $170 at the recommended retail price, which is sitting very clearly at the bottom of the list in terms of price, which is in itself a special feature. but it doesn't actually have that many other special features, and that's because this is like a toned down basic sports racing helmet. It's not going to be that great in touring because it's been designed primarily as a sports helmet. And we do have some evidence of that. Like we have here the brow ventilation, which is quite low on the forehead, so in a tuck you're going to get better ventilation. We have the like aggressive design coming to like almost a point here at the chin, going into a big spoiler, the most pronounced spoiler of all the helmets on this list. So there are definitely a few things to indicate that it's going to be a sports racing helmet. So it does have that real sleek look to it that we expect of a racing helmet. And it's going to be available in 2 different shell sizes. Unfortunately, it hasn't been Sharp safety rated yet, but I believe it's on their list to do, and it's not going to be a dangerous helmet by any means. It's been DOT and ECE rated, so it does have a good level of protection there at the very least. Now on the inside, we took everything out and everything was pretty clean underneath the liner on the EPS. There wasn't any glue floating around, there weren't any loose ends. That was very nice to see. But because it is a racing helmet, it's going to lack some of the features of the other helmets, like the special features especially, but it's also not going to have an internal sun visor. The pinlock lens is not included in the box, though it is prepared for one. And you know, it's a little bit disappointing, but this is the lowest costing helmet on our list, so it is somewhat justified there, I believe. And overall, this is going to be a very clean, a very clinical, very smooth sports racing helmet. So finally, we have the HJC i70, and this is going to be a sports, a touring, a commuting, a little bit of everything kind of helmet, which is it's really a versatile helmet. That's the best way to describe this. It can do a lot of different things, and pretty much all equally as well. So this helmet is going to only come in at $200 US at the recommended retail price. That places it pretty low on our list. It's the lowest costing touring helmet for sure. But it doesn't have like the special feature like the LEDs or the pump up cheek pads of some of the other helmets. Instead, it's just robust in a lot of different ways, and it does have that lower price. Now it is pinlock prepared. That pinlock is in the box, which is great. It's got the sun visor, drop down sun visor. The ventilation system up top looks a little bit like that of the Alpha 11, I think, but it is a different system, so keep that in mind. Then it's going to come in 2 different shell sizes, and it hasn't yet been rated by Sharp, and that's because it's released not too long ago. I don't think they've had time to get around to it. But the IS-17, which is like the predecessor to this helmet, did score a 5 out of 5 stars. I'm not saying that that means that this will, but it's an indication that we're probably going to have a pretty decent shell in this helmet. It's also got the DOT and the ECE rating, so it's definitely going to be safe. And yeah, so overall it's a good quality helmet. On the inside, the finish was pretty good. There was a little bit of loose glue kind of like hanging around, but it wasn't bad at all. So it was pretty good to see there. So now that we've run through each of the individual helmets, it's time to test them out and compare them to each other. And the first thing we did was we weighed them. So the AGV K1, the Shark Skwal 2, and the Scorpion XO 510 Air all weighed in at 1,550 grams. And the HJC i70 weighed in at 1,500 grams. So there's not much of a difference there, 50 grams, I mean, it's hardly noticeable. So I'm pretty confident in calling them about the same. And for a polycarbonate shell, 1,550 grams, not bad at all. It's quite respectable. And remember, these are all in the same size as well, so it's a fair comparison. But I'm pretty confident in calling these kind of like above average. And remember that we're looking at the top 4 helmets in this category here. So there are definitely going to be some that didn't make this list that are going to come in at a much heavier weight. So the next test that we're going to be doing is how much noise was blocked by each helmet, a noise test if you will. So these are entry-level helmets and we don't really have high expectations, but nonetheless it's useful info. So the Skwal and the i70 were able to block out about 6 decibels of noise. The K1 and the XO 510 were able to block about 3 or 4. So the results are pretty consistent here, but the result from the K1 is expected from a sports-focused helmet like this. The Skwal and the i70 did do quite well though, and this is a result of their touring focus, I think. So of the top 4 entry-level helmets of 2019, we should be able to figure out which one is the best, right? Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that. First of all, these 3 are touring helmets, this is a sports helmet. So, as a sports helmet with a different function, the AGV K1 is top in that category by simply being on the list of our best helmets, it simply just automatically takes that. What about the others? Because they're touring helmets separate from the K1. So they have a similar weight, they have a similar noise isolation based on our testing, and they have a few different features that kind of separate them. But what does that mean? Because it's very subjective. Do you want that kind of feature? Does it matter to you? Does it bother you? And what about the pricing? So it's super subjective. It's going to come down a lot to what you feel. And I have my own subjective opinion. So for me, I like the i70 more than the others. So the i70 just does what I want. It's more appealing to me. It's going to be the lowest cost here. It's got good versatility, good value. It's just decent overall, really. And it doesn't have like the special stuff like the LEDs of the Shark or the air fit of the Scorpion, but it does have good value, and that's something that I appreciate more. For me, these things are a little bit more superfluous and not really necessary. But I would be happy recommending each of these helmets. There's a reason that we picked them and put them onto our top 4 picks for 2019. If you visit championhelmets.com, be sure to scroll down on the product pages for each of these helmets and check out the product bundles. For the K1, i70 and the XO510, you can get a second visor for a 50% discount, and for the Skwal, you can get a discount on the Shark Tooth communication system. The AGV K1, the HJC i70, the Shark Skwal 2, and the Scorpion XO510 Air. These are the best picks from us here at Champion Helmets for 2019 in the entry-level full-face category. So, they all have great strengths in their own regards, and they are all full value. If you're looking to get your first helmet just starting out, or you're just looking for an entry-level helmet or a low-costing helmet, these are going to be great options for you. So thanks for watching. I'm Chris from Champion Helmets, and this has been our guide to the top 4 entry-level helmets of 2019. Remember to subscribe to us on YouTube, and thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.